Folks, here we go. It's a Monday. It's August 7th, and we're ready to kick off another week of MMA Junkie Radio. Our specialty is these big names in the sport, whether they fight, promote, manage, show off them beautiful bodies, ring card girls, whatever. We have them here in studio. We don't call them. We do sometimes. We do a lot of the times. But our specialty is the co-host. And today's co-host is Brian Butler. He manages fighters such as Felice Herrig, Max Holloway, Douglas Lima. Diego too?
No, just Douglas, yeah.
Why not the other guy? Are they not like that? Two peas in a pod, I imagine.
No, they just came up different times and, just different.
Right. Carlos Esparza, Jermaine Durandamy. So the list could go on and on. Sucker Punch Entertainment. And this is the gentleman I was telling you about last week who's also been putting fighters into the UFC through the Dana White Contender Series. I imagine that's what brings you to town. You got a couple more horses running?
Three.
Three
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a 60% chance that a sucker... Well, no, I guess... First of all, you got to win, and then once you win, it's a 60% chance you can get in.
Yeah, I mean, I think
sometimes they take in two.
Going in, right?
Yeah, sometimes they take in two. So Brian will be here co-hosting with us. We will recap UFC Fight Night 114, which took place this past weekend in Mexico City, Mexico. 7 first-round finishes and a main event that shook up the division in terms of we may have the next contender for the winner of Demetrius Johnson versus Ray Borg. It's easy to say for Demetrius Johnson, but we have to pay respect to his opponent. He is fighting somebody, and that fight is set, and it's happening on September 9th in Edmonton, Canada. So we have to pay respect. The winner of that fight could be looking at Pettis. However, Pettis said something interesting. He said,
I didn't like that.
Give me Cejudo. Well, fine, we can debate it because part of me didn't at the time because I thought, you're probably next, kid. Go for it. But I can honestly respect his honesty in saying, I'll take one more fight before I get ready for Demetrius Johnson because Demetrius Johnson is a beast any way you slice the pie. So it'd be great if we could get more from Sergio.
We only
is
had
that
a
what it is?
We could ask for his opinion on what he would have done.
Well, exactly. But we'll find all that out. And, of course, there's been some fight bookings, including Paige Van Zandt and Jessica Penne, Misha Serkinov, and Glover Teixeira. Yeah, some good ones. All right, we'll be right back. Jessica Penne.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby.
Oh, really?
All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
She's going up in weight.
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission.
Moves up.
Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes. He's our ace co-host, and back east, he'll handle all the producing duties. Danny Otto. Sitting to my right is our special co-host for the day, Brian Butler from Sucker Punch Entertainment. What's up, Brian? What's up, guys?
What up?
Not much. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Did I just make the most foolish bet ever? We were just talking about a recent signing where I thought I read Jessica Penne versus Paige Van Zandt. And it makes sense because they're 15ers, strawweights, 115 pounds. And so Ghost told me, as in Jessica I go, no, she's a bantamweight. I know she's going to fly. But what I thought more than anything was, why would PVZ go up? Because if anything, when you see her versus some of the others, she's not one of the bigger ones. No. So I made goes the bet because I could have sworn I saw Penne.
But before
and
we
as
said
he's
that,
doing it,
I told you, are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure. And then I even pulled it up and said, yep, and then you still bet me Chipotle. Like,
no.
How dumb could I possibly be? I'm staring
No, what
right
I'm saying is I didn't know you were already on the page.
Oh.
So I thought you were looking it up. And I was hitting MMA, and I thought, oh, let's make a bet out of it. So we bet Chipotle, and then by the time I turned around, it was behind me.
Here's what I think went on, Brian. This is what I really think. I think he just really wants Chipotle. And that was his way of going, all right, I lost. Let's go eat Chipotle. That's what I think happened.
Well, I really like Chipotle, but I have no problem just going and dining by myself. But I really thought I read that earlier. In fact, if the editorial's listening, at any point was it Penne? Because either that or I really need to get my eyes checked. I thought I read that earlier.
Maybe you just really wanted penne for lunch.
Man, penne pasta.
Maybe that was on your mind.
Anyway, so that's one fight booking. Another one is, since we're on the fight booking topic, Misha Cirkunov versus Glover Teixeira. I think that was announced on the broadcast, UFC Fight Night 114 in Mexico City this past weekend. That was revealed. And then how about Anthony Pettis asking for Poirier, and Poirier already accepting. Now, there's no bout agreement there, but if they make it, I'm down, and it kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Two 55ers coming off a win, and they've never fought each other in the past, and they're both WEC guys, so they've known about each other for a while. So at some point, you just know, your paths are going to collide. Anyway, the big news, obviously, over the past 48 hours is that card out in Mexico City, and Sergio Pettis defeated Brandon Moreno. How about that? The local... Well, he's not really local. Tijuana's so far north versus Mexico City we're just calling it the Mexican. What could have been their newest star. He goes down, and we talked earlier about Yair Rodriguez. He went down, and damn, man, I'm part Mexican. I think Mexico could really use someone like, to make that country proud,
well,
like Connor. What he's done, yeah,
really hard to try to pull someone out.
Grasso got a win, but she even got away with skin of her teeth.
Close.
Yeah.
I'm curious now to see how the rankings are going to end up after that. What do you
For which one of the divisions?
Strawweight. Because wasn't Randa 8 or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, didn't they stop?
8 and 9. It was 8 and 9.
So what's going to happen now if Randa got beat? Does Grasso take her spot? And if Grasso takes her spot, does she jump ahead of Felice, who just beat Grasso?
They've done it before. I mean, they've literally had them back to back. Like I think one time they had.
But Felice got bumped out of the top 10 recently because of Cynthia's win over JoJo. So Felice went from 10 to 11, and now Randa jumps. I mean, Randa loses to Grasso. Now what happens?
Let's find out.
Don't you guys have influence?
So they got.
We have rankings too, and I was going to pull up ours, but I wanted to go off yours first, and then we can migrate over.
We do our own rankings, so we've never voted on that one.
Okay.
We don't vote on the UFC ones.
So they have Felice at 11.
But that's
and
old.
They have Marcos at 9.
Grasso wasn't in there yet, right?
Grasso's not even in there at all.
No.
That's because it hasn't been updated yet.
Okay, so this is what they should do. You got Joanne at the top, Claudia.
But JoJo's
Carolina,
gone. She should be off.
JoJo she already fought at 25, right?
No, her last fight was
a 15. Right. So our policy at USA Today Sports and MMA Junkie is once you actually fight, then you move up. So she's still technically a strawweight, regardless if she signed a bout agreement, regardless if today's weight cutting day or whatever. The fight has to happen, and then she becomes a 25er.
She gets removed.
Yeah. So she'll get bumped. So I think I like it so far. Andrade, Torres, Watterson, Esparza. Watterson's only had one win, I think, in the UFC. Not necessarily like a bunch of them. It was PVZ, and PVZ's way down here. She does carry over being a title holder at Invicta, but that seems a little high for me. Your question is, Alexa Grasso, she just won. Why should she pass Aguilar, Moraes, and all that? She shouldn't even pass Casey.
She can't. For
Casey's
sure, she can't
3-0.
get past Felice. That would make 0 sense.
Right. Well, she shouldn't even pass Casey. Casey's
there.
won her last 3 fights. Grasso's coming off a loss and then a win.
So does Randa drop out completely?
No. So Randa would drop. If I was them, I would drop Randa below.
I think Felice has to go back to 10.
Yeah, Randa would drop below. It was a close fight, but I would drop her below Grasso, who would move up, but no further than Casey. So Randa would take a bigger drop. I would focus more on the loser dropping. Now, actually, that was a controversial fight, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. How'd you score it? First of all, we'll start off with Goes.
You know, it's one of those fights where I think depending on the judge and the way they judge things, you could probably make a case either way. I kind of thought Randa got her, but barely. I had no problem with people going either way.
Did you have it 1-1 going into the third, right?
No, I personally had it 2-0 going into the third.
Oh, okay.
But if somebody were to tell me, hey, you're wrong, I'd say maybe. I mean, it was a really close fight.
I had it 1-1.
But I thought that Randa got away with one on Carla, so
yeah,
court justice.
She was pissed, man.
Randa?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was 1-1 going into the third. Now, I've always admitted to people that I'm watching, but not laser focused like a judge, because I'm either tweeting or I'm managing my parlays. So as I'm doing this, again, I'm getting a good feel for what's there, and I had it 1-1 going into the third. And in the third, I thought Grasso competed better. She there may have been a takedown, but there wasn't any effectiveness to it. And then just Grasso threw the better strikes. In fact, her strike numbers were higher. And that's not always like my whole lock, you know, the meat and potatoes. Not just those numbers, but also who was more effective. I'll point back to the week before. Lawler and Cerrone were 1-1 going into the third. And I believe it was 30-29 on the CompuStrike or whatever. So it was only one more strike that Lawler had than Cerrone did. But Lawler also hit hard. I think he was more damaging. So in this case, I thought Grasso just had the better strikes and outstruck her. That's why I'm thinking if you had it 1-1, you shouldn't have a problem with Grasso winning. Right. However, if you had it like Goes, 2-0 going into the third, and you're giving Grasso the third, then yeah, I guess Marcos has her point. That whole appeal thing, it's not really going to – I don't think they're
appealing it?
She says she's going to appeal it.
No,
it never really works, man. I mean,
I've had
it's almost a waste of time.
Such bad appeal cases that didn't even go. Like, do you remember that Boston Salmon? Remember him when he fought?
Oh, that was one of the biggest.
That didn't even make it through. So there's no way that appeal is gonna go through. If it does, I'll be real surprised.
Gally from Toronto, he tells me, didn't Casey lose to Gadelia? Oh, I see what he's saying. Because of the streak, I thought I put her on. She did, but Gadelia's way at the top. That's why Casey's way at the bottom. Anyway, I had it for Grasso, and I'll tell you what, though. What I did say was, over the course of 15 minutes, I thought Marcos proved to be the better fighter.
I thought it was, I thought it was a closer fight than I thought it was. I thought Grasso was.
She 10-9'd her on 2 rounds, in my opinion, whereas Randa, keep calling her Randa, I think she was just more diverse and more damaging when she was winning, but she didn't get the call. Now, yet again, another Facebook thread, at least amongst Junkie Nation. Oh, this, that, a couple robberies, and no. Randa should have done more. Grasso should have done more. Then they wouldn't be in the predicament. Stop saying the judges suck. I'm not saying they're not. Okay. I'm not saying that every single judge couldn't use more help, but I'm telling you, I'm watching these judges. They've gone through a lot. They've started to either train or just judge enough fights that it. And you're not going to change them. The commission's not subbing them out and subbing them in. They're the judges. They're the ones making the call. You have to overwhelm them. You have to feed them data. You have to feed them info. You have to be more active. And same with Alvey and Rashad. I couldn't believe it, man. They were just standing there, and there was so many moments of inactivity. I mean, what do you expect the judges to do? It's not on the judges, man. It's on the fighters. Sorry, that's how I feel. But anyway, we had that fight. Grasso, obviously, holds court for Mexico, and they needed it because in the main event, Moreno lost to Pettis. Sergio Pettis looked good.
Yeah, he looked great. He had a great game plan. He was very technical in everything he did. He was just kind of one step ahead, and I felt bad because the UFC's desperately trying to get these stars right in Mexico, and they have a big one with Yair Rodriguez, but with these two fighters, Brandon Moreno and Alexa Grasso, they're there, and they look like they can blow up, but you can just tell they need a little bit more work, a little bit more fine-tuning, and I don't know who you throw them in to get that. UFC's kind of a tough place to learn. That's not the place to learn.
Yeah. Moreno looked wild at times. When he kind of settled a little bit, you can tell that awkwardness could be effective, but, I mean, there was some right field to second base type baseball throws really that just aren't really punches, right? And then there's no offensive wrestling that gets the fight to the ground. Basically, I remember the 2 times he got Pettis to the ground, I think he caught kicks. you know, and then was able to just take him down from being off balance or win a scramble. And good on you, because if you get Moreno on top of you, you are in a world of hurt. But Pettis defended. I'm sure he worked on that. He had the gas tank for it. He worked in Albuquerque, which is 5,500 feet up, so that didn't hit him at all. And in the end, he was just the better fighter. Now, Pettis, I thought had a chance to really, really make his stake his claim for the title fight. Instead, he wants Cejudo. Does that surprise you at all?
I mean, you know, honestly, I only saw bits and pieces of the whole fight because I was here in Vegas and there was no sound on the TV. But yeah, I mean, you know, Sergio.
They don't turn up the sound at Spearman right now.
Sergio's a smart kid, man. He knows what he wants to do, and he's not in any rush.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not his manager.
What'd you think?
There was so much talk about it going in that I really thought he was just going to take the mic, especially the situation he was thrown into was kind of bad. I mean, you got to go to foreign soil and fight, and a lot of people were expecting him probably to lose that fight. He won. I thought he was going to do it and take advantage of it. Still called out Cejudo, and I just don't know. Like, you're kind of either ready for the champ or you're not at this point. I don't know how fighting Cejudo will really help you in getting there.
Where's he at on his contract, too? Maybe he's got one fight away from renegotiating. And
it's a good point. Yeah.
They're both nightmare matchups. Cejudo's no pushover.
Is that got a lot to do with call-outs? Like, how much is that huddled between you and your team where you say, hey, maybe it makes more sense to get the better contract before we fight these next 4 fights versus just lipping off like everybody wants us to?
I mean, it does play in. You know, it depends on the fighter. Some fighters just want to call people out, and some fighters want to step back and take a look at the bigger picture. So I would always say let's look at the bigger picture, but you know, UFC also doesn't let you completely pick your opponents all the time either. So you know, it's whether or not you make noise at the right time, I guess.
You know, in that division, you got to worry about all the other flyweights, but then you can't remember like the bantamweights too. You know, they've already tried that, and you never know if you're going to sit around and wait. It doesn't mean you're the next guy. They could pull another guy from bantamweight and go, let's make this fight because DJ's that good. You have no idea. You don't even know if DJ's going to be the guy. So I think that night I would have just said it. Let's do it.
That's what I'm thinking. You can always pull back when you get back. But at that moment in time, create the buzz, start something, because what if you are next? What if they give you the money? Well, you might as well start, building that. Floyd Mayweather, the reason he always fought May 5th and September 16th or around those days because there's a big following in boxing from Mexican fans that come from down south. So Cinco de Mayo, September 16th. But if you go back and look, he fought a lot around that time. And he always said he needs a 6-month campaign to build for his fights. So, a lot of these other fighters that are starting now fight only 2 times per year. Look into that. Look into how you're going to attack this and make the most out of it. Especially the ones that have big followings and are pay-per-view stars. So I don't know. I think Pettis is advised by Malkikawa, because I think the other brother is as well. So who knows? Who knows if they huddled up on this or not? I'd love to know. Man, one day I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the locker room, just to see what's discussed there, or maybe during fight week, how much strategy goes into it.
Not much business is talked in the locker room.
No.
Yeah.
What about during fight week?
No, not really as well. The fighters are pretty much focused on the fight and weight cutting, so it's just all about the fight at that point.
Because I always see, did you see when John Jones defeated Daniel Cormier? He was on his knees when he first got the belt. He collapsed to his knees. If you watch, his wrestling coach, Izzy, runs up to him and says something to him. What he told him was Brock Lesnar. So as John did the whole respect to Daniel Cormier and he's a champ and I'm back or whatever, he got a reminder from Brock Lesnar. So sometimes you need to give it to them afterwards, because obviously they've been hit in the head. Quick reminder, what we discussed earlier. And so that's why I'm curious to see where that factors in, or give a shout out to somebody's father who passed away, or whatever. Yeah,
that's normal. But I don't know how much they actually talked about Brock going into the fight. I think it was just a cool idea. It doesn't really take much thought. That's a.
Do you want to see a fight like that, by the way? Brock versus Jones?
I would watch it. I'm going to watch Mayweather and Conor. So.
In person?
No.
No?
No skin in the game there, so no, I'm not.
You are you paying for it, or are you going to someone's house?
I'll pay. I'll probably just pay for it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't want to give them my money.
Yeah, what is it? It's $100, right?
Yeah, we got a buddy that invited us, and so I'm going to go there and bring something, beer or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'm done with that game.
How are the ticket sales? I heard they were
Mayweather's taking enough of my money.
They're really good.
It's actually nothing against McGregor. It's more against Mayweather.
As far as tickets go, they're really good down below and really good up top. It's the middle part that's hurting.
Yeah, that's where they fucked up.
What are they selling
asking for? Like 3,000, 5,000, 7,000
for the middle section.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now look, I don't know your economic status, and even though he's my brother, I mean we don't really share that. But I see us as we'd probably pay 500 if we were just feeling it. You want to be a part of it. But after that, it's like you start to think 1,000, like 2,000, 3,000. Now, let's say we were celebs and just had, we're 10,000 don't hurt. Then yeah, we want to be seen. All right, put me there within the first 3 rows. You fight for that shit or whatever. 10,000, no big deal. But the celebs aren't going to want to sit 5 or 10 rows back. They also want to be seen.
Yeah.
And so they'll put up with so much, and then at some point, I think they just go, fuck it. I'm not watching it. I'll just watch it in my luscious mansion, whatever.
They're not giving tickets away to celebs this time, and I heard that a lot of celebs don't even know that, and they're a last-minute thing.
Just assuming they're going.
Call at the end. It's me, Sylvester Stallone. I got 4 with me. That ain't gonna happen. So we'll see how all that plays out.
Yeah. So there'll be executives, I think, that don't have to be in those first few rows. But I think if you get 20 rows back, that's where some big money's being thrown out. It's at the first level of risers where they're still charging like 7,000. What the fuck's going to sit in there?
Yeah.
And you don't go by yourself. You got to talk. You got to be homies with another guy that's got that kind of money who's not trying to talk you out of it and saying, bro, let's just have a kick-ass party at the house, and pay the hundy or whatever and chill out, not even bother with private jets or hotel rooms and really, really take an ass kick. And so I just think that part they didn't look at as good as it could have.
I heard they're still saying, well, we're still trying to put fights together, and I don't feel like
nobody's waiting for the undercard to make the decision.
There's nothing that can be put together that's going to make you go, well, that's going to put me over the edge on $7,000. You're either in or you're out, right?
Lomachenko would.
Ooh,
you're right.
He got to win,
dude. How good did he look?
Yeah. Who promotes him? I mean, they're 2 weeks apart. Would have been nice to have him.
Golden Boy?
I don't know.
No. I think he would be a top rank.
Okay. Well,
that guy I think is the best, man. He's by far my favorite.
Well, arguably, a lot of people do have him pound for pound. Others have Andre Ward. But yeah, he got a win this past weekend.
Are you getting excited a little bit more for Triple G and Canelo?
Yeah.
They've been saying a few things here and there. Or does this have to happen first?
This has to happen first, and then I'll reassess and focus. I mean, we also have, to me, it's big, but NFL opening weekend, I got to get through that. I'm kind of more of a week-by-week guy. So
that's the
NFL
best part
week,
for you, right? Because that's when you guys are still relevant, and then after week 1,
right? Then we're out of the playoff picture. Who's your team, by the way? The Skins guy?
Yeah, probably the Redskins. I'm not a big football fan, actually, but
so is he. Yeah. That's September 9th, and then Triple G and Canelo September 16th. So I'll start to get excited there and focus on that. But, I mean, I'm excited they made the fight. But
what do you think will happen if this fight just completely bombs? If Mayweather just walks right through him? What happens to Canelo and Triple G? Are people soured and go, I'm not dishing out money for another fight?
No.
Or are they going to go, now this is the real fight?
Yeah.
Let's get back.
Let's get it back. Let's get that terrible taste out of our mouths. And do this. I'm wondering if this whole little ticket pushback is going to affect pay-per-view. Like, we're all talking about it. The tour did great, but at some point does reality set, and do you just say, I wasn't planning on getting it. Just tell me who wins, or if you haven't something, I'll come over. But
I think where it'll affect it is I feel like the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, I felt like a lot of individuals said, let's watch this because we have to. This fight, I feel like people are still soured on Mayweather from that fight.
Right.
And I feel like more and more people are going to go, why don't we just all get together? Because it's the type of fight where, like Tyson, you want to be in a big group of people because you know it ain't going to last that long. You want to have a good time. I think that's where it might hurt them in pay-per-view sales. I think there's less people that are like, just, I'm getting it. You getting it too? You getting it too? I think it's more, let's all get together.
I think Mayweather needs to step up his part of it where he says, this guy's an amateur. You watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to embarrass him, and it's going to be over quickly. Instead, he's just kind of smiling, ha, ha, ha. You know, that little subtle, I'm laughing all the way to the bank. But I think he needs to say something. You know what I mean? And it's just not happening. I mean, this show, a lot of people call this show and go, I'm not getting UFC, fill in the blank.
Right.
That number. Why? Well, we got this fight and that fight, but it's like they're not impressed by all 12, so they're just laying back. That's why I'm saying, yes, this is a spectacle. Yes, there's the Chase Cobrans of the world that just love to see, Godzilla versus a little person.
Chaos.
Right. But in this case, there's also going to be a lot of people going, what? You want 100 out of me? For that? Like, I'm just not doing it. I'll wait for Triple G and Canelo. I just gave it up for Jones and Cormier. You see what I'm saying? So I think when reality sets in, that's kind of what will happen. I did say I was wrong. I think I said my initial number would be $2 million. I thought that'd be a good pay-per-view deal. Mm-hmm. But then this tour blew up, and I said, yeah, it'll probably break the record. Who knows? I'm awful at picking that shit. But regardless, the fight's going to happen, and I've already told Chase I'd love to see it at his house. So I guess I'm in that far.
Tough Prince Chase?
Tough Prince Chase, yeah. He's having a party.
Yeah, okay.
You invited?
No, I don't live
You'll
here
watch
yet.
it back in Virginia?
Yeah,
well, you're here a lot.
Yeah, but I don't think I'll be coming back before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just got to shove all these contenders in. And how many people are on your roster?
Probably over 100.
Wow. And how many are UFC fighters?
Probably last count I think was like 25-ish, something like that.
The new wave? Or you got a lot of the new wave, or is it mostly old school?
No, we actually got a lot of new prospects. I mean, we got 3 from the Contender show alone, so that's 3 new ones. Yeah, a lot of the young guys.
Let me ask you a question. Have you in fact, I know it's happened because it has to have. But how many times did you take someone from the beginning, and then all of a sudden they just go, I'm outie?
It happens. It's happened a few times, but the weirdest part about it is 99% of the time they ask to come back because the grass isn't greener on the other side. So, but I also have kind of a standing rule that we don't do that.
You don't take them back?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no hard feelings, but I'd rather focus our energies on the fighters that are loyal and appreciative.
Are you a manager that can look the fighter in the eye and go, if I fight in there, I will make up my percentage of, what the charge is for you and I to do business? Because we hear that the UFC just says, nah, these are the numbers, that's it. And then other managers go, nah, the reason I'm good is because I go in there and fight for more. So how could you share, how would you rate your track record?
I mean, I think our track record is good, but the thing about us is we don't actually go after fighters that are already in the UFC. A lot of management companies will go after fighters and try to poach them after they've got there, and then say, okay, well, I don't know how they do it or why they do it, but we prefer to build people up and get them to the UFC. So our value comes prior to that, because nobody's making any real money outside the UFC. In regional shows, you're making little bits here and there, but the real money comes when you get built up quickly, built up properly, and get signed to the UFC. And we've taken our pride in the roster with that route, and that's where we get a lot of loyalty from our guys too and girls. Is that they know we're there for them from the beginning.
How often does someone try to poach you?
All the time, from a couple specific companies, all the time, and it's just kind of become an ongoing joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to call
So
them
this
out,
isn't once a year. It's
know
like
who
once
you
a
are.
month? Once a week?
Probably after every single Contender show, we'll get the same cut and paste email on Facebook to the fighter, and all they do is they change the top name. So it could be, hey, Dan, hey, Boston, hey, you know what I mean? And everything else is just cookie cutter, the same thing. And it's like they go after him that way. And I've called them out a couple times. I'm like, oh, we didn't know. I was like, come on. There's no way you didn't know. I'm pretty good at putting our fighters out there that they're sucker punch fighters. So, I mean, it happens. It's just not our style. We just don't do that. So,
wow. It's cutthroat business, man.
I've seen a World MMA Awards show.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few people try and do that, and they're so bad at it. I mean, it's so obvious and just so scummy that you would imagine if you had like any sense of decency as a fighter, you would be able to recognize, dude, this is just such a scummy move right now. Like, why would I go with you right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I've seen it a couple times.
Is it where they pulled the fighter aside and said, why are you with him?
Sort
or
of,
do they do the open, like, why are you with this guy, man? You know, if I come here, and then that way they feel like it's open dialogue, and maybe it can be categorized as a joke.
Like, hey, let's go up and talk. And then I've even seen the fighter go, nah, man, we're here at an award show. Let's just have fun. Nah, come on, let's just go. It's like, who wants that? I don't know.
Wow.
I think if somebody approached me that way,
why would you do that after you've been with somebody that's built you up for so long? Why would I just don't get, like, you're right. How do fighters not recognize the snaky used car salesman type of guy coming up on them? Like, I don't understand how some of these people stay in business, because when you can see them from a mile away that you look like a snake, you know? So
you know what's valuable to me? I like when somebody can already tell you what you're thinking before you even say it. Or like, if you can look at someone, if you're in a room, if you and I are in a room and we're in a negotiation or something, and I can look at your face and I know what you're thinking without you even saying anything, that holds value. And I think someone like you, that you're bringing someone up from the beginning, they already have that camaraderie with you.
Right.
So it'd just be kind of like, why would I want to start over? Like, what exactly are you going to do to make me go through all those emotions again of, am I getting the most out of my money? Can I trust this guy? Like, that's a big move, man.
It is, but the tough part for fighters is that they are always getting people in their ears, other fighters that are, that don't necessarily want to admit that their deals aren't as good as they are, but they, for their own ego, they're saying, well, I get this and this and this, and then the chatter just starts to grow, and the fighter's like, well, man, I should be getting that too if he's getting this, and the reality is none of it's probably true, but then the fighters just start getting a little bit crazy, and I've been with this guy since the beginning, so I don't know anything different. Maybe it is greener on the other side. So there's that side of it too, and I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it. So
we got to take this call from South Africa. Got to give this person some respect. That's a long way to call. So let's get them on quick, and then we'll do our commercial. Hello, X from South Africa. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay, so I'll get straight to it. I've been here for a while now. It's been a couple of years, all the way from South Africa in the future. I've got a question for you guys. Firstly, it's about the rankings. When you guys put your rankings together, do you automatically select the champ as number one? Because, for example, if TJ had to beat Mighty Mouse, would he be the number one flyweight in the world now, even though he's only fought once at flyweight?
Are you talking about the USA Today and MMA Junkie rankings?
Yeah. Let's say, because you can't speak on behalf of the UFC, so I'll ask you guys about yours. And then my second question is to the head honcho there at Sucker Punch. How do you go about when two of your fighters are actually wanting to fight each other? So do you have to say, well, this guy has to calm down, or do you say, when they start talking trash, do you have to be the mediator, or how does that go down?
When two of our fighters want to fight each other? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like one of your fighters...
Have you ever had that, Brian?
We have that in the Contender Series tomorrow, actually.
Oh, really?
Two of our heavyweights are fighting each other.
Okay. And if so, he's asking if they're piping up on each other. Do you ever tell them, like, hang back a little,
No, we let them, like I said, for this particular... Normally, we wouldn't have our fighters fight each other unless it's in the UFC. This opportunity came up, and it's pretty much your shot to get in the UFC, and they're not on the same fight team. They just happen to have the same management. So it's not like I can take the opportunity away. I would feel bad taking the opportunity away from one because we managed the other. So we were very upfront in talking to them and told them, listen, guys, this is not a ploy to get one of you out of here or move one of you up. This is the opportunity. We don't really like the whole idea of it, but you both have a shot to get in the UFC by doing this. Do you guys want to do it? And they were, they were just, it was business for them, so they agreed they were going to do it.
And in the history of UFC, have you had that situation often?
I've had it a couple of times when Carla and Joanna fought each other.
I see. Oh, yeah.
And then Amir Sadala and DeMarcus Johnson.
Do you just let them say whatever they have to build it up, or do you ever tell them, like, I'd rather you not, as much as you and I are friends, me and the other guy are friends?
It's never really gotten to a point where I've had to step in and say anything.
Gotcha.
So they've always been pretty, cordial about it. Like, would I mind if they got shitty with each other? I don't know if I would or not, but it just hasn't been like that.
And X, your question about rankings. So if you use TJ versus DJ, so you're saying TJ drops to fight DJ?
Yeah, it's just an example. So if he had to drop to fight DJ.
Yeah, so this is what would happen.
Conor McGregor went up.
This is what would happen. If TJ dropped to fight DJ, if TJ won, TJ would be our #1 guy because he's the champion at flyweight. DJ would go to 2. I just can't see him dropping further than that because he's basically beating everyone else. We would remove TJ from the bantamweight rankings and until he fights there again. Now, if TJ can, like within 3 months, already have a fight booking back at bantamweight, still with the plans to come back and fight at, defend his belt. And obviously there's some sort of a push from the UFC that says, yes, we believe in him, that he can do this. Then we probably leave him number 1 at flyweight, even though he's fighting at bantamweight, just to see how that works. But we really would rather not have you in 2 divisions. Now, the other thing we do is, at that point, TJ's also climbing in the pound for pound because he's proven to you that he's winning in different divisions. So in our pound for pound division, he'd probably ascend there, even if we had to give him up off of one of the other 2 that I mentioned.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, thank you, X.
Thank you.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Marco from Waco, Dave from New Brunswick. And if you want to join the party, it's 866-522-2846. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Brian Butler's in the house.
When I was 6 years old, I broke my leg.
So, yeah, that.
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here George and goes.
All right, folks, we're back. We've been discussing UFC Fight Night 114 the earlier part of the show, and I want to give you guys all the results, and if you want to call in and chime in on any of those, we'll tackle them one by one. Otherwise, you know, McGregor, Mayweather talk, that never gets old. And if you didn't see, there's been a little bit of a falling out between Paulie Malignaggi and Conor McGregor, and it just keeps escalating with Paulie Malignaggi divulging more, saying he won't go there as far as like tactics and letting Mayweather know, hey, this is, you know, what the game plan is. But at the same time, he's being a lot more explicit about, you know, who owned who or who did what against who in their training sessions. From what I heard, they had 2 12-round sparring matches, and you can tell, yeah, like Ghost said, Paulie's pissed. At first, it was just, hey, I didn't appreciate that photo, blah, blah, blah. But he's been doing more interviews, and just more info keeps coming out of that. So definitely like to see what the guys think about that.
The video hasn't been leaked on it, has it?
No, because it was close quarters. All phones were off. Just the UFC cameras were on. They're always on. It was at the UFC Performance Institute. So I don't know. Maybe one day. I mean,
maybe one day after the fight.
Yeah, White House footage has come out in the past. I imagine this could happen.
Would it really change your perspective on buying the fight, though? I mean, even if he did mop the floor with him, I think you'd still buy it, wouldn't you?
If Conor mopped him up, then yeah. But
I mean,
if the other one,
you'd still do it. You'd still watch.
Well, I wasn't going to, but you're asking about the guy's borderline?
No, just anyone.
I don't know. Good question for Junkie Nation. 866-522-2846. But here are the results, and then we'll just move on to whatever the hot topic is. So Sergio Pettis defeated Brandon Moreno 49-46 and then 2 48-46s. He must have received the 10-8 round. Sorry, he must have been the recipient of an 8-round versus Brandon Moreno's 10. I think it was in the first when Moreno locked in a body triangle and attacked his back. Alexa Grasso defeated Randa Marcos. Nico Price defeated Alan Jouban. And Jouban's starting to not take those punches very well. I don't think we're there yet as far as, you know, a certain speech that certain fighters get. But I know he's a favorite of many people, and it's because I think he's an all-around pretty cool guy, you know, and he gives exciting fights. But, yeah, that fight ended quickly, man, in the first round. Quite a few of them did. Humberto Bandenay defeated Martin Bravo. A vicious knee that just turned off his lights and stiffened Bravo. It was one of those where, I mean, the toes were curled, and you know, he was rigid, man. I'm telling you, you could have surfed him. And it was the scary kind. They're all scary, but that one was really, really one where you could just tell he was removed from consciousness. Humberto's yet another Peruvian who's doing work in the UFC. Peru's becoming a little bit of a hotbed out there, yeah. Sam Alvey defeated Rashad Evans, and Alejandro Perez defeated Andre Sukumthath. Now, I want to focus on Alvey and Evans. Your guys' thoughts on the fight. First of all, how'd you score it, and should Rashad still keep fighting?
The thing with Rashad, I think, is he hasn't really had like these brutal knockout losses, or I mean, he's just not doing enough, I think, in fights.
Okay.
And a guy like Sam Alvey,
he wasn't doing much either.
I thought that was.
But I thought the right guy got the call.
Yeah, that was the right call. But he's the type of guy where you would think Rashad would maybe put a little bit more out there. I don't know. I wouldn't say he has to go away, but he definitely needs to change things up, which I heard he did for this fight, so I don't know. Yeah,
he locked himself in Frankie Edgar's dad's basement. He fought out of his comfort zone down in South Florida with Mark Henry. So you're right, Goes. He did take himself out of his comfort zone, change things up. And I just found him too tentative, overthinking it, and that's why I'm thinking it's more of a mental thing. Now, when he did throw his right hand, a couple of them landed, good shots. He tried to wrestle, except I think he noticed that the gas tank withers, you know. He's older, and they're at 7,800 feet. Plus, Alvey was getting the best of him getting pressed up on the cage. Yeah. Alvey would get underhooks. Alvey would throw a couple elbows, but Alvey was starting to land some knees. it almost behooved Rashad to just get out of that. Either complete the takedown, which I'm sure he was trying to do, or be more active, out-active Alvey. So he wasn't winning that. Anyway, I think the right guy won. And as far as Rashad's concerned, here's the part that where it gets tricky. If Rashad's one of those guys, because he was a former champ at light heavyweight, because he's a tough champ, so he's been through so many contracts and he's made a lot of money. If the guy's making like just $300,000 a show or 175, who knows what, he'd probably fight another 2-3 times because it's money that he's not going to be able to make once he retires, unless he has something set up as far as a gym or other businesses. So, you know, he's not getting his clock clean, but it's just a matter of, does he want to finish as a 500 fighter, you know, like let the losses mount up and let his legacy get tarnished a bit. But a fight like that, I don't think really like injured his brain any further than or whatever. So, you know, that's where it becomes a business decision. The UFC looks at him and goes, we'll still pay you. You want to fight? And he says, all right, you know, then I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I don't know Rashad good enough. I guess if I was a friend, a teammate, a family member, I'd say, bro, let's get you checked out. And as long as you're good to go out there and get that money if they're willing to pay you. But as far as like the retirement, I would say more had he been KO'd, then that's when you have more of those serious talks. What do you think, Brian?
How many losses is that for him now? Is it 4?
Overall?
4 in a row.
4 in a row?
I think so. Let me double check.
Or it might be 5 in a row.
He is 19-6 overall, and he's lost to Alvey, Daniel Kelly, Glover Teixeira, Ryan Bader, 4 in a row. Before that, he beat Chael and Dan Henderson.
How long ago
and
was
he
that?
had 2 losses before that to Jones and
2013.
Nogueira. Yeah. So that's 4 in a row that he's lost. That's 0-2 as a middleweight. The one he did get KO'd in was the Glover Teixeira fight, but since then he's lost 2 split decisions. So he's been that close from being 2-0. And with Rashad's name and popularity, if he was 2-0, regardless of who it was, I'm telling you, people would be talking about, well, why not him versus Bisping or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's a
you think
tough
you should
call.
still fight?
I mean, he's like you said, as long as he's not injured and taking real damage, and the UFC still will pay him. I mean, yeah. I mean, fight.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at, man.
It's a tough call though at 4 in a row. So yeah, he's definitely if he does go another one, he needs to just let it rip.
Alvey called out Belfort, and Belfort's already lined up. He says, let's do it at UFC 216 in Las Vegas. So he'd be out of Brazil for the first time in a while. And it's a pay-per-view. And by the way, I thought he retired. I guess he changed his mind, right?
Well, it was just kind of, up in
This
the
isn't
air.
the Legends Tour, that's for sure. But anyway, Jack Hermanson defeated Bradley Scott. Dustin Ortiz waxed Hector Sandoval. I mean, quick, 15 seconds in the first round. Hani Yaya defeated Henry Briones. Jose Quinones defeated Diego Rivas. And then on the 2 fights on the UFC Fight Pass were both first-round wins, both submissions. Joseph Morales defeated Roberto Sanchez, and Jordan Rinaldi defeated Alvaro Herrera. What do you think, goes? An event like that, put it to bed, you're done? Or was there anything else?
A little bit.
I mean, there wasn't much pop here. There was Evans' big name.
It was a fun card.
Ortiz is ranked. Yaya has been ranked before. Grasso and Marcos, that had a little bit of movement, I guess. But yeah.
It was a fun card, but going from here, we're not going to have a card for a long time. So really, what I think fans and media, what we're going to lean back on is, obviously there's Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, but this Contender Series is awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to it. I think that's what's going to happen.
Did you put in your credential for tomorrow?
I did not.
Are you gonna?
I want to.
All right. Yeah, I think let's do it. I mean, I haven't walked out of there pissed off one bit.
Yeah.
It's been fun, man.
The fighters are definitely going there trying to get that contract.
I like that. It's been a great idea. And I'm happy to announce Eve Edwards, who will be calling the fights tomorrow, will be our co-host for tomorrow's show. So that'll be a lot of fun. Eve competed as a lightweight in the UFC way, way long ago when they had their lightweight division before it went away, and then again when it came back. He may have even dipped down into featherweight. But that guy has really, really touched on the history of the sport. He's fought at Bodog. He's fought in the UFC. He's fought Elite XC. I mean, he's fought literally everywhere, man. So it'll be fun to pick his brain, and of course now he's an analyst with Fox Sports. All right, I promise these calls would get in. Let's get this little quick commercial out of the way. When we come back, we'll talk to these two cats, Dave and Marco. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We have Brian Butler in the house. We'll be right back.
First things first, I'ma say all the words inside.
Let's see. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B-A, start. You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
All right. So the reason Brian's in town is because tomorrow's Dana White Contender Series 5 card contains 3 fighters that are part of Sucker Punch Entertainment. And 2 of them are facing each other. Shelton Graves and Everett Sims. Who's the other one, Brian?
Peter Pettis.
Peter Pettis. Oh, he's fighting Julio Arce.
Yeah.
All right. So staying busy.
Staying busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Peter, keep an eye on him. He's an exciting fighter, man. Mm-hmm. He's the one that there was a video that went viral on him in an earlier fight where he kicked the guy in the body so many times he threw up in the cage. I don't know if you ever saw that one. He was also on Titan, spinning back fist knockout. Very the style of fighter that I think the show was looking for.
Right.
So if Pete goes in there and pulls the trigger, it's going to be a very fun fight to watch.
Let's talk to Marco in Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco. ¿Qué pasa, Vatos and Brian?
¿Qué pasa, man?
And so I got a pretty entertaining weekend. I watched an awesome episode of Game of Thrones yesterday. A dragon burnt out an entire army. That was satisfying. And then on Saturday, I watched the Lomachenko fight and the Mexico City fight night on the double set that you guys told me about. That you had to set up for things like that. Mexico, dude, 7 third-round finishes. How about that, dude? I mean, we always shit on these little cars. We think they're going to be nothing, and then you get 7 first-round freaking entertaining finishes, and the other fights were not bad enough at all, dude. What do you think?
Well, I have no problem with any card, honestly. The only thing I'll agree with when people say, hey, there's no star power or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, if it's free, I'm watching for sure. And it's just that discipline of accepting that, you know, a certain fighter who you may not have heard of, you know, might be tomorrow's superstar. So especially if you're a fantasy fighter or if you're, you know, gambling or whatever, some will say those are the best opportunities or whatever. But like that Humberto guy, the Peruvian guy, I mean, he's on my radar, you know. We'll see if what he did was just special for that night or what. But, yeah, I mean, you know, and back to another thing I've always said, just have the 3 TV setups. We have 3 TVs in our living room. So keep an eye on, you know, the fights or whatever. And if you really have to watch your baseball game or your football game, what I mean, it shouldn't take you away. If you're a fight fan, you should be able to do all of them. So it's as simple as that. Just don't miss any cards. I don't think it's that much of a commitment unless, you know, you're Saturday night. I get it. If your family, you have something planned, and come back and blast through that DVR. No excuses.
Yeah, last thing, man. Sergio Perez, I don't know if he's ready for a title shot, but he looked really good on his feet on Saturday, dude. The kid, a little bit more urgency on getting up, but besides that, man, he's looking pretty good, man. Let's see what happens with Sergio and that title contendership. We'll let you guys catch you guys tomorrow.
All right, see you, Marco. Well, we discussed that earlier. Demetrius has just wiped out the whole division. And they may lean on him to fight next. He's like 16-2 overall with a 4-fight win streak. And he is a Pettis, so we'll see. All right, we'll come back after this break and sports update. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93 that you are listening to.
There were more than 24 hours in the day, even if that.
All right, folks, right now we're on commercial with SiriusXM, but I'm going to answer some of these questions from the Facebook chat. Let's see here. Rashad is toast, according to Raimundo Martin. What do you mean? Do you mean that he's going to get cut? I don't think he'll get cut. I've seen fighters survive 4 losses, believe it or not. Dan Hardy went through that. That was one 5 years ago that was really highlighted. But because they're popular and if the UFC is loyal and there's, you know, loyalty going back and forth, they can survive that. So I think Rashad will get another win, but another fight. But I have to believe at some point that's going to run out, because when you're also paid a lot, oof. I mean, what more can they do, man? He was the second fight on a fight card in Mexico that just didn't have much hype behind it. I don't think they'll stick him on the UFC Fight Pass, but still, man, he just keeps going down. I thought the Alvey fight was a winnable fight for him.
Yeah. He doesn't really have like beefs out there that need to be settled. Like, we don't care what their records are. These two have to fight. Like, he's kind of a nice guy.
Yeah.
There's not really much you can do.
Maybe him versus Vitor or something, you know, like
that would be interesting.
One of them just kind of has to go away or something. I don't know. Michael Sanchez, shout out to you. George Gonzalez from Colorado, shout out to you as well.
Happy birthday to Dan Tom.
Chasm Anwar says Sergio Pettis winning is also good for the UFC. He's Mexican. In a way, yes. However, Marino's born in Mexico. Sergio didn't speak Spanish, and he only mentioned that his mom's Mexican, and then kind of shied away from it. So, I think he could have done a little bit more with it. Even Sam Alvey, who went to a decision, you could overhear him saying, "Hey, I was going to say something. I learned Spanish." But the reason they didn't want to interview him is because they were, they're on that time schedule. His fight went to a decision, so they pulled him off. Brian Stan didn't go in there and talk to him, but it ain't that tough to learn a couple phrases in the language of the country you're in and score a little bit of points. So,
George, you want that song coming back to start the second hour? I don't think that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, let's not do it.
All right.
What song?
We have a song, but if we play it, you're rapping to it. So do you want it or not? No? Okay, well, we'll skip it today.
It's a really easy rap, though.
It's easy.
Yeah,
and you can't be worse than the last guy that did it.
I guarantee you I can be.
Really? All you'd have to do is say the first word and you'd be better than the other guy.
All you'd have to do
He
is
just
read
couldn't.
it and you would have been better.
What happened to that guy? He just like
I don't know.
stared at it and I was like pointing at it and he couldn't. I mean, martini was one of the words. He couldn't even say that.
Yeah, they told me to do at the Contender show. They put the camera on us.
Back in a minute.
Get crazy for the cameras because Boston won. And they put me out front with his family. Like, all right, 3, 2, and I was like, I'm not doing it.
So what'd you do? The mannequin challenge?
I just stood there and I was like, that put me in an awkward spot. I mean,
right.
It'd be worse if I was up
That
there.
what you did was better than the last fighter that was here that tried to rap.
I think you could always just go like this, like. Right, that's kind of like my go-to.
What do you mean?
Back at 30.
If you get put on the spot and tell you got to be crazy, I would just go, "Oh, that guy's crazy right there."
Yeah, but it wouldn't fit in with you're a Boston fan and
Better than me just standing there, right? I gotta do something.
Just this.
I don't know. If you're a manager, do you
That?
think it's cool
Yeah.
if I were to be
Do you
like
know where this is
screaming in the camera?
Do you know where this is from? Do you remember the Laugh Olympics? The cartoon
Scooby-Doo Laugh Olympics.
They would always do that on
the
the patio.
Scooby-Doobies, the Really Rottens, and the Yogi Yahooies.
I don't remember that. No.
Okay. You skip cartoons on Saturday?
I don't remember that specifically.
Oh, okay.
With my swagger, hopping there with flow, I got places to go. People to see, time is precious. I look at my Cartier out of control. Just like my mind where I'm going, the women, the shorties know nothing but clothes. No stopping at my Pirelli's on. Unlike my jewelry, that's always on. I know the storm is coming, my pockets keep telling me it's gonna shower. Call up my homies, it's on and popping the neck, cause it's meant to be ours. We keep a fadeaway shot, cause we ballin' this platinum Patron every hour. Look, mama, ow, you just like the flowers. Girl, you the truth with all that goody powers.
All right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. And I got a special request here from Gally from Toronto. I'm not sure we've asked you this in the past, Brian, but he says, have you ever asked Brian Butler to share a street fight story with a company, Sucker Punch? One would think he has some good stories. Have we ever asked you that?
Street fight with clients of mine?
No,
or
with you.
No, just like
involving
in
you.
your past.
Yeah, we want to hear a good street fight story.
Go all
from
the way
you.
back to kindergarten. We've had them all.
Yeah, I mean, in high school, you know, I spent the night in the drunk tank, I guess. I wasn't drunk, but they put us there because we got in a fight.
Well, what happened?
I think it was a McDonald's parking lot.
It's always McDonald's.
It's always McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
And I can't even remember. Something happened, and I ended up in a fight, and the cops came while we were fighting, and
No. We're not going to let you off that easy. What happened?
You know, it was like a jock
was
guy.
there a chick involved?
There was probably
Someone
no, it wasn't a
cut
chick
in line,
involved,
or?
but I wasn't a jock. I was like a skater guy.
All right.
And I, for whatever reason, in high school, the jocks didn't like me, and I dated a girl in high school that I guess one of the jocks liked. And this just sounds like so TV showish.
No,
but anyways,
great.
they were, you know, they ended up coming at me, and we got into a fight. And
so it was just you versus a few
and
of them,
like a whole
or was
group
it
of them standing around watching, and you know, and then yeah.
Was this jock like a
soccer player?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say yeah. Offensive lineman.
No,
or
not
point
that
guard.
big.
Okay.
That's probably the jock you would want, though, right?
I think so. Either that or the kicker or the
You don't
punter
want
on the football team.
basketball guy. You don't want the football guy.
Well, if it's a point guard, they're kind of soft. I'll take one of those.
Yeah?
A
I'd
point
maybe I'll
guard.
take the soccer
If it's a
guy.
baseball player, give me the shortstops or
I mean, granted, they have like a tennis
second
team where
baseman.
you
don't want
that
a third
guy,
baseman or a right fielder. I mean,
I wouldn't want the swimmer. He's got cardio.
Mhm.
So I think I'd be good with that.
You'd be scared of Michael Phelps?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I got that
Take
guy
one
all
headbutt
day.
from Michael Phelps. See how your face feels the next day.
All right, so what happened? So meet me outside, or was it in McDonald's?
No, it was out in the parking lot. And
all right, so you go out, and it's just you. Yeah, no backup?
I mean, I did, but it wasn't like a gang type of situation where I had my friends trying to fight. This guy just got on me and pushed me. I was a littler guy, too. I also didn't know how to fight back then. And it was not technical at all, and it was just we just started scrapping. And
this was high school, like senior
year?
Junior?
Yeah, like I think senior year.
Okay.
Or it might have been the year after high school. Still hanging out at McDonald's. Pathetic.
How'd the fight go? Give us a play-by-play.
It was just ended up a lot of rolling around, a couple punches thrown early on, and then we just rode around for a while, and then the cops came. Everybody scattered except for him and I. And
now let's say 3 judges were there, and would their scorecard say Butler 10, the other guy 9, or Butler 10, the other guy 8, or were you on the other side?
No, I don't. Honestly, it would have. I don't know if anybody really won it. I know I got a lick in, and I know he got a lick in, and then after that we were just kind of banging elbows and knees on the concrete, just rolling around, and then now that was that. Oh, I had another one.
Yes,
this one was actually
had a boy.
So there was.
We can't leave him with a draw, all right?
No, that one we got pretty much. The cop picked us up and threw us in the car and took us to.
But he was a bigger guy than you were.
Everybody was pretty much bigger than me back then.
So you get points for going up in weight.
Right. In pride, they always lean towards the smaller guys. So yeah, it's like we'll give you the win on that one. Now, what happened to the other one?
7-Eleven. That was the other parking lot to avoid in high school.
All right.
I was at the 7-Eleven and this over another girl that I was dating at the time, but a girl came to the parking lot and she started, and this was after the girl broke up with her friend broke up with me, so she came at me and started yelling at me, and she started calling me racial slurs, and she slapped me in the ear. And
wait. You got broken up with, and she was still yelling at you?
And her friend came and was yelling at. She was drunk or something. I was there just getting nachos, and she slapped me in the ear, and I remember my ear ringing like woo, and I was like, man, that hurt. And then she started calling me names, and then she slapped me again, and I'm like, man. And she had like 3 guys with her, and I was like, don't hit me again. I was like, because we're going to get to a situation now where, now both sides of my face are ringing. And I just said, don't hit me again. And she did it. She hit me again. And I was young, but okay. So
take a big gulp before you did whatever you did next.
So I defended myself. Not too hard.
Hey, you took 3 shots, man.
But a little bit. So as soon as I did that, the 3 guys jumped on me. And they didn't really to me anything. They were wrestlers, and they didn't really hit me or anything. They were just like rolling me around. And then I was like, man, you guys are weak. It's 3-on-1. Your girl's over here hitting on me. And then they said, okay, we'll call your boys. So then they let me up, and I called my friends, and my friends came, and it turned into this thing, and everybody scattered. It was pretty funny.
Did that turn into a fight, or?
No, as soon as my friends came, all the wrestlers took off. They ran, like they scattered because my friends came a little deeper.
Skateboard friends?
No, they weren't.
Or did you call some muscle?
I actually was. They were at my house. I was at 7-Eleven picking up nachos, and they were there, so they all came. But they weren't skater friends. They were just my. They were my.
Either way, though, you did get boxed.
Friends.
You did get boxed up a little, though. Your ears, right?
Yeah. Well, she slapped me. Yeah.
She must have been pissed. 3 slaps.
She was drunk, and she was that girl. She was drunk as hell, and I gave her warnings. After the first one, I knew. And the second one, I was like, and then she did it again, and I was like, screw it.
Yeah, we'll leave that part of the story untold. All right, let's talk to Dave from New Brunswick. What's up, Dave? How you doing?
How you doing today?
Good, man. How about you?
Good. I just wanted to touch on the Mexico show. I think if the UFC wants to invest in going in Mexico, they should invest in the fighters and their teams and getting them there early to acclimate. I think it really hurt Randa in her fight.
Well, a lot of them did get there early, from what I'm hearing. Like Rashad, I think, was there a month early.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that's on their own time.
Right. So what happens is the UFC says for international travel, I think they'll do 7 days out. Usually it's Tuesday out of a Saturday event. But in this case, you're saying maybe bump it up to 2 weeks, Dave? Is that your suggestion?
Well, for this venue, I mean, Mexico is extremely hard, not just the altitude, but the air quality.
Yeah.
2 weeks isn't enough.
No.
Could you do something like a tough house scenario where they just get a big house and go, look, there's a bunch of rooms.
Maybe.
You guys want to come early, you're welcome to stay here, not incur that cost, something like that maybe?
Maybe. I don't know. I would imagine if they do that, then they're just going to have to put out more costs anywhere else to go around the world. And a lot of fighters are already fighting for like when you go to Australia, for example, and you have a North American-based fighter, it's only you and a cornerman. And so that guy's got to reach out into his own pocket for the other cornerman. So a lot of people are already fighting for that. Some people are fighting for extra days. All this stuff could be something that an association or a union could figure out, you know. But like I've told you before, I don't know, man. I think we're 5 years, 10 years away from even something like that. The fighters are just too individual, too selfish to stand together. But yeah, I mean those are rights that they could, you know, fight for together collectively. If they only knew how strong they could be collectively. It's going to take sacrifice, financial sacrifice by a lot of them, especially some of the big name players, and I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah, it'll take the big name players.
For sure. You know what I thought could start things off was if super camps kind of started it. So like let's say American Top Team, the Jacksons, and then from there, you know, maybe Extreme or whoever, just starting them, you know, getting some sort of a movement. But
you still need
a lot of these fighters are from countries that they don't even know about unions or associations. So yeah, we're still away from that, man. So now some of the fighters luckily have learned from previous events, and a lot of them did get out a little bit early, but it came out of their own pocket more than likely, Dave. I'm not sure of that, but that's probably the case.
Cool, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, sir, for the call. Mayweather, McGregor. How big is this fight? How much, if McGregor, or yeah, we'll say McGregor was your guy, how lucrative do you think it would be from the sponsorship side?
I'm hearing it's actually pretty lucrative right now, but yeah, that's what I'm hearing, but I don't know. I really don't try to get into other fighters' business and stuff like that with other managers. I just don't want to be that guy, but I'm hearing that it's actually really good.
Yeah.
Monster's putting in some good money on
Monster?
On Conor, yeah.
Wow.
I thought I saw they had some Lamborghini done up for him here or something like that, didn't they?
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Lime green, monster green.
Yeah. A guy like Conor, like, do you think there'll be another one like him? Or is that a once-in-a-lifetime guy?
I mean, I don't know. Everybody said the same thing. Will there be anybody else like Ronda? You know, and then Conor came along. So, yeah, I think so.
Do you guys think of this?
Ronda supposedly has big news coming out.
Yeah, on her website.
Yeah, she's going to release it on the website. People are speculating. I'm pregnant. I'm in the WWE. I'm retired. I don't know.
You think if the sport was bigger, say 10, 15 years ago, Tito Ortiz could have been the Conor McGregor of that era?
I know they're all killing themselves. The minute those guys sold for $4.2 billion, every fighter that was a superstar that fought under that banner, I knew they were like, you know, damn it. There was more money to be had, but remember what Frank Trigg once said? It's you're worth what you negotiate.
Right.
You know, and there was some good money that I don't know. The Fertittas are the ones that did well. Now poor WME I shouldn't say poor them. I mean they're a business entity on their own, but they're the ones that are getting the backlash, you know, from all the other fighters that that are not trying to do their thing. But in fact, update us. Last time you were here, I guess Max Holloway was still needing to have some meetings with the UFC. How's that been going? What's it like battling WME IMG versus Zuffa, I guess?
Honestly, it's
same people.
It's the same people, so it's no different. You know, we're still in talks, and hopefully things are gonna keep moving in the right direction.
If they match what you want, is it Edgar? Is he the front runner?
Yeah, Edgar is probably what's going to be next.
Okay.
But you know, just have to get through a couple of things, and I think we'll get there.
Is it just the money involving this fight, or is it like ripping up the old contract and getting a new one?
We're in a place to where we should be getting a new one based off of conversation. So that's where we're at.
Are you close?
I think we're getting there. I think we're close. You know, we'll see. I've got a meeting later today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe an announcement today. And Does Max Holloway involve himself in any way, or is it all Brian Butler? You go chase these numbers down.
I talk with all of my clients so that I want to make sure that we're on the same page 100%, so that I know going into the meeting that I'm supported. So if I know that, then I can go in and I can fight without any hesitancy.
Did that sale change the landscape of now fighters asking for more money? Because we hear that a lot.
I don't think so. I mean, the money is, you have to perform. You have to get there, and you have to get through contracts. You're not going to get a huge jump off of your first contract in the UFC. So you prove yourself, go into it at the right time, and you should be able to get decent money.
Do you get a high? Maybe I watch too many movies, but do you get a high from landing a huge contract, just as much as like when a fighter wins a big fight?
Yeah, I guess. I get honestly, the biggest high is getting the fighter from regional show to the UFC. That's the most rewarding thing.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Because there's so much unpaid for work that goes into getting them there. And when you get a fighter signed to the UFC and you get to tell them that they've made it, that is one of the most rewarding things. Like, remember Brett Johns?
Yeah.
When he got signed, I had the FaceTime recorded on him. Did you see that? It went viral, and he started crying, and it went.
We've covered him since Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a great kid.
Welsh, right?
Yeah. I think he's actually landing in Vegas today.
No. For how long?
A couple of days. Him and his girl just having a little vacation. But yeah, signing guys there. That's the biggest high.
And that was bigger than what Max did in Rio de Janeiro. I would imagine that'd be tough to top.
No. So, yeah, what Max did in Rio was incredible. What Max did in Toronto was incredible. So yeah, no, those are moments that are obviously huge chapters for me as well. But and I'm also very close with Max. So something that happens with Max is like he's like family. We just went on a houseboat vacation together where he brought his son down from Hawaii and did that. So, yeah, Max is a special case too. So,
Max, if I'm not mistaken, had his 2 losses in a row, right? Was it Bermudez and then Conor?
Yes.
Think
Bermudez,
about that.
though.
Overcoming those 2.
Did you see that fight?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
That was a horrible decision.
I have to rewatch it to remember.
I think actually even Dana tweeted that it was a horrible decision because Max clearly won that fight. So yeah, but that was, and then Conor.
Yeah, and then to come back and win, what's that now, 10 or 11?
11.
Wow. Interim title, world title, and then in that guy's country. I mean, don't give up on yourselves, man. A lot of you fighters go through some tough times, and some of them dust themselves off and go for it. And others can really, really just cycle out, and it becomes too much. But Max proved it.
Brian, for the most part, do fighters stay the same from day one when you meet them, personality-wise? If they blow up, are they kind of the same person, or does the sport ever eat someone up?
No, they can get eaten up, and that's why sometimes the fighters will leave management and leave camps and coaches and stuff like that. They can get consumed by their own hype. I always try to keep everybody grounded and talk honestly and openly with them to not let them get there. But everybody's different, There's some examples, but like I said, I'm not going to talk about what they are or who they are. But yeah.
Can you give that one fighter that when you first signed them, you just knew in your heart that person was going to blow
up? There's been a couple. I knew that Max was going to blow up. He only had 4 fights. And when my partner, Brian Hamper, scouted him out and found him, you could see in his video that he was special. And even Sean Shelby recognized it because that's all I sent to Sean was like, look at this, And sure enough, Sean signed him on 4 fights. Boston is another one that we knew was.
I just saw him the other day too.
Yeah.
At Extreme Couture. Yeah.
He's somebody that we knew was gonna get on the scene and explode. I mean, we had him from his pro debut. Had him on the RFA and LFA shows, and he went all the way through there. And yeah.
Boston was an amazing amateur fighter. We covered him at Tough Enough.
Yeah.
And then when he fought in RFA, LFA, there was one fight where I wasn't sure he would live up to the hype that I knew he had coming out of Tough Enough. But fuck, man, that fight the other day at that gym, I was like, whoa, like, this guy's the truth, you know. And I don't know if all the fighters go through it. It may have been a bad day, and I really don't remember the fight, but I just remember going, I thought he would have progressed a little bit more. And I told him so when he was here on the show.
But he looks
but
like
the other night, man,
that's the scary thing.
His defense was tight. Everything he threw with both hands, and then he had an array of strikes. I mean, he had an arsenal. And the other kid was tough, by the way.
Very tough.
I think he was from Uriah's gym or something like that. Fuck, that guy's no joke either. But Boston just, I mean, really, really precise. He was so efficient. He made his strikes count.
Could have done better too. That's the thing. Is he didn't? If you notice, he didn't follow him to the ground because he had, a minor injury that he didn't want to risk it, so he kept it up on his feet. But if Boston was 100%, that fight would have for sure been over.
Yeah.
But he still looked fantastic, is what the takeaway from that is.
Yeah. Did you hear his the part about him playing flag football with us?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't tell me that day. Dude.
I know, man. I know, but those
the injury didn't come from that, did it?
I don't think so.
Did I hear that?
Did it? I mean, because I don't know what injury you're talking about, but I remember he said he just had a little knock on one of the first plays, sat out for a while, but then he felt all right.
Yeah.
So at that time, I don't think we knew he was on Contender Series, did we?
We
knew Brad was fighting Elias, but Brad was more just rushing. He wasn't really, I guess, running around doing patterns.
Brad was playing in the Super Bowl that day.
Yeah, Brad. It was like 5 alligators. He was rushing by the second alligator. He was blitzing. He was doing a lot of stuff there.
When they showed up, he told me right then and there. So right before the game started, and I had even told him, like, "You sure you want to play? It's not that important." And Extreme Couture had enough players on their team, which I would love to do a few background checks and see how many times that card got scanned at Extreme Couture this month. But he told me before, so if he would have told me during the game, I would have freaked out.
I don't know, my man. I'm just glad we got through that. 866-522-2846. What do you guys think about Paige Van Zandt moving up?
Yeah, that surprised me.
She doesn't. If you stand her next to the other strawweights, she doesn't look like one of the bigger ones. But now I guess we're trying to be smarter, more responsible with weight cutting. So really, guys like us should probably be supporting that decision, But, I don't know. I don't really know the background on whether she struggled with her weight cuts or what, but I always felt like strawweight was just
seems pretty natural.
Perfect for her, yeah.
Yeah. She never looks like she's overly ripped, so
she's moving up to fight Jessica Ai.
Yeah, and Jessica's
she's a 35er coming down to 25, so she'll have size advantage.
Big, yeah, and strong. Like Jessica's a strong girl.
Yeah.
Look up Jessica Ai versus Zoila Frosto, and you'll see this will be similar. Zoila has competed at 15, but she moved up to 25 once to fight at Bellator, and Jessica Ai put it on her. You could tell the size made a little bit of a difference. I'm going back 6 or 7 years or so, but we'll see, man.
How do you think that fight's going to go?
Jessica Ai and PVZ?
Yeah.
If Jessica Ai just works that takedown defense, she'll win the stand-up. Because Paige does have a motor. When she gets on top of you and just grapples you, she's just got this high pace. I'll give it up for her there. But if you nullify that, you have a good chance of beating her. Because, I mean, throwing out the Beck Rawlings KO, she still has a lot of work to make up, against someone like Jessica Ai, who's got pretty good boxing, in my opinion.
Yeah, just stay on the outside maybe for that fight.
If she's just more of an upright fighter and she just gets taken down over and over, then it'll be PVZ's night. But I think Jessica Ai's had her fair share of matchups that involved other wrestlers. So, especially at 35. So I favor Jessica Ai in that fight.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's who would win. Serknikov is fighting Glover Teixeira. That's kind of like a guy that's maybe on his way out versus a guy coming in. Good matchup down in Brazil, and that's a division that somehow stays alive, but it's not the deepest division either. 205 is like there's 10 good light heavyweights, and then after that there's this big drop-off. So hopefully more are coming. What were we going to say?
I wanted to get Brian's take on something, and it was something that we touched on a little bit earlier in the show when we talked about Daniel Cormier and John Jones. Joe Rogan interviewing fighters that are concussed. Him and I have been talking about this, and I think the more and more we think about it, I don't think there's blame on Joe Rogan. I don't think there's blame on the UFC. I kind of think at some point the corner who gets to the fighter is going to have some sort of conversation where they can make that decision and go, this guy's good to talk or this guy isn't.
Yeah.
Where do you think all that lies, and how has that worked in the past with some of your fighters?
Never had that issue happen with any that I can remember on my side, but I don't think Joe. Yeah, you can't. But it was kind of a weird moment, and you know,
such a big fight, right?
Yeah, yeah. So and you can tell he felt bad about it. Like he did not like what he did the moment he finished doing it. But I think the corner should step in and wave anybody off if they don't think so. It should be. Yeah, you're right. I think the cornerman's responsibility there to do that.
What do you think, George? Have you made up your mind officially?
I think you're right. Like, I think okay, you're talking about Cormier most recently, right?
More specifically.
So if you look at that, Cormier was first upset with John. He thought he stopped it too soon. Then he looks up and realizes, oh shit, I got fucked up. But that should have been the red flag for a guy like Javier or Bob Cook to say, let's just go. I don't understand why he stuck around. Unless he was going to lay the gloves down and retire, I don't know that there was a need for him to talk. I mean, sometimes in high-profile fights, they want to put it to bed. Is the rivalry over? That, whatever. Yeah. I get that, but I think the corner could probably assess, well, if he didn't even recognize why the fight ended, maybe we should just take him back. And what do you learn on? You learn on the history of the game. I mean, look what Alistair went through when he got beat up by Stipe. He was saying that I thought he tapped on the guillotine, and then Joe Rogan shows him that he clearly didn't. And then he just kind of goes, oh, it's a little bit of an embarrassment there. So, again, learn on the history of the sport and what's happened. And I think there's enough of those incidents where the corner should just go, bro, let's just get you back and get you healthy. Cormier wound up going to the hospital, by the way. So it's not like he was fit and fine. I mean, he was a concussed fighter, and I don't see even if he didn't go to the hospital, let's just say by then he collected his thoughts. Maybe by then he could do the, losing fighters have participated in the press conference, something like that. But at that particular time, especially with him showing emotion, he's cried before. He cried in the back of their first fight. I don't think I want to put my fighter through that. Just times are different now. There's not much of an appreciation for what they do. For these young kids that go out there and do these memes and these photoshops and just completely butcher the fighter, like I don't see the value in getting his comments, his raw emotion to offset.
But he was up and pacing around looking like he was okay, wasn't he? I don't know.
I mean, unless he was the one saying, I want to say something.
Because I thought like he was having conversations with Dana.
That's when he thought he got stopped early.
So it looked like he was, coherently talking and arguing and, still alert. So I don't know. Maybe Joe saw that and figured, okay, well, let's talk and see what he's got to say. Because there was obviously commotion going on in the background with him. So.
Yeah. And plus, it was also looking like he was just a bad sport. Like he wouldn't even stand there when Big John was going to lift up.
Yeah, that was weird.
So it just looked like a mess. Get your fighter out of there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? What?
Well, I was going to bring up something else along those same lines. The Contender Series. Have you guys heard the Snoopcast yet?
Let's talk about that. Yes.
Okay, so some fighters are kind of lashing out a little bit, saying, hey, man, Snoop's being a little insensitive in some of his remarks. I mean, I kind of get that.
Is there a specific fight? Because I went to the first one. I go, let's start with the first. And I enjoyed it, so I still haven't gotten to the part that's insensitive.
Well, I think he referenced Daniel Cormier, right? Wasn't he saying something like crying like a bitch or something like that, right? That pissed people off. And so I kind of get where they're going from, but at the same time, I mean, if you throw it on, you're gonna probably expect something like that, right? Were people that shocked?
I mean, because he doesn't really know the sport.
You kind of know that going in, though, right?
So he's just gonna talk.
Isn't it one of those where you just go, well, then I'll just put it on the other guys?
Right, you have the option. That's not the lead commentary. The lead commentary is Eve or Paul with the two guys whose names I forget. I apologize. They're switching off. This week it's Eve. Last week it was Paul. But that's the lead commentary. The Snoopcast is just an option. You can always turn it off if you don't like it. I saw a Quinta tweet and I saw Miletich retweet. I saw Matt Brown co-sign. I just thought they meant this guy doesn't know the sport. Like maybe the techniques he's saying are off or whatever. But see, I would go in there kind of knowing and expecting that. So I'm there. I would think more for the entertainment. I want to hear him say, "Oh man,
comedic relief of some sort."
You know, my man's losing his head. You know, he got knocked the fuck out. Whatever. Almost like what Chris Tucker does on Friday.
Didn't he say "take the booty" or something like that?
Yeah. So I'm not going there for any, you know, analytics or you know, some extensive breakdown of the fight or the action that's taking place. So, but if he's saying stuff like what you said with Cormier, I could see some fighters just not liking that for sure.
But that being said, you only have so many of those that you could probably get away with too, right? You can't just go, "Hey, I'm stupid. I can say whatever the hell I want."
Right.
Hopefully, maybe somebody pulls them aside and goes, "Look, this is why that could be offensive, especially if you're doing it in front of a former fighter, right?"
Oh, did Uriah get pissed?
No, I'm just saying Uriah might be the guy to go, "Hey, by the way, this is why somebody would be offended at that." So he only has so many of those.
If that was it, then I see exactly what they're saying. If they're saying, "Wait a minute, this guy's not calling the action right," or he's not prepared, I wouldn't expect them to. The UFC, look, not to suck on their tits or nothing like that, but I was appreciative that they just tried something. Even if after the first season they go, we decided against the Snoopcast, at least they tried it. You have to connect with this younger audience that is going to consume your product, that 18 to 35 or 18 to whatever, 49. That's, you know, that's one of the key demographics out there. And if you're not trying stuff, you know, it can hurt your business. So I don't know.
Yeah,
run it for 8 weeks, and then if it doesn't deliver, then you move on, right? But at least they're trying. NBA front office executives are wheeling and dealing this summer, trying to create the next NBA champion. Get expert opinions and analysis on all the latest transactions from around the league throughout the offseason on NBA Radio, Sirius 207, XM86, and listen anytime with the SiriusXM app. We're going to take a break here. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. We got Brian Butler in the house, and we'll be right back.
Stacking up problems that are so unnecessary. Wish that I could slow things down. I wanna let go, but there's comfort in the
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Over the weekend, we heard the cast for Tough 26. They are the following names: Ariel Beck, 4-4; Deanna Bennett, 8-3; Shayna Dobson, 2-1; Sijara Eubanks, 2-2; Melinda Fabian, 4-3-1; Kareen Gevorgian, 3-2; Barb Honchak, no record given, but I believe she's 10-2 overall. Christina Marks, 8-8. Roxanne Modafferi, her record is 21-13. Nico Montano, 3-2. Lauren Murphy, 9-3. Rachel Ostovich, 3-3. Jillian Robertson, 3-2. Maya Stevenson, 6-4. Montana Stewart, 7-4. Emily Whitmire, 2-1. Amanda Hugginkiss, 10-0. Oh, you guys caught that? I was trying to sneak one in. All right.
Simpsons one, right?
Right. Yeah. So anyway, you guys get it? Amanda Hugginkiss. All right. Let's see here. A lot of 500 records. You know, I thought I was going to see more like 8-1s and things like that, but I see a lot of 500 records. Are we getting a little too excited about this division just yet? Is it really just there yet?
I think you'll see a lot of people coming down and up.
From 35?
Yeah, I think that's where the
like a Jessica I would have been maybe nice for this one, right? She said she'd love to do it, but then again, she wanted to get paid for it. So I guess they weren't willing to do it. Yet last week, Goes and I were at the gym, the Tough Gym, for the fights, Dana White Contender Series 4, and we saw Lauren Murphy and Roxanne Modafferi, and I just thought, oh, there's them two. That's all I thought. But I think if you'll watch the season, either that's just a day for them to take in some fights, a night out, we'll call it. Maybe their practice had just ended and they said stick around, you can watch the fights, but who knows if they were mic'd up or what they are, but they're two of the ladies that are on this. Barb Honchak used to fight for Invicta. She's a really good fighter. A lot of the other names I don't recognize.
It had to have been a night out, though, because there were too many of them, right? Maybe if you saw one or two, you'd go, something must have happened, but they were everywhere.
Brian's telling me, of course, you got your hand in so many cookie jars. You're sending fighters on the Dana White Contender Series. You got others winning in Brazil. You got some that are dominating in Bellator. So far be it for you to not have clients. Tough 26. Who are your three again, please?
Deanna, Bennett, Sijara, and Rachel.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about each one of them, please? Let's start with Deanna Bennett, 8-3 overall.
Deanna is actually very well-rounded, super tough. She fought at 115 as well, so she was kind of that one that went back and forth. I think she's very tough. Sijara is like a world champion, world-class grappler, very strong, very aggressive.
Where's she from?
She's from Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Sijara Eubanks. All right. So she
wrestled
Invicta
too.
Or what'd she compete in it? I guess.
Jiu-jitsu. She came up under Lloyd Irving, and her story is she used to be like obese, like legitimately obese, and then she started jiu-jitsu, and it kind of changed her life, and she became just a world-class jiu-jitsu athlete. And then Rachel from Hawaii, Ostovich, yeah. She's very well-rounded. She's tough like all the Hawaiians are. Got a lot of heart, and she dresses like if you've seen her in Invicta, she was the one that wore the Wonder Woman outfit, kind of at the weigh-ins all the time.
Reebok needs to get a Wonder Woman costume somehow.
Yeah,
because I don't want that to go away.
Yeah. All right. Now these young ladies are being coached by Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gagey, and those two will fight at the end of the season. I imagine that's too good of a fight to be as part of the finale. I think Gagey really made his mark against Michael Johnson, so I could see him probably on that Detroit card. The Detroit card is probably one day after the tough finale. I'm not crazy either, because if you recall, T.J. Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt were the last coaches of the last season. They weren't going to fight on the finale. They were going to fight at UFC 213 one day later. So it still culminates when the season culminates. But if I had to guess, that's when they'll fight. I don't know. And I don't know who's on whose team. I'm sure you do, but we don't need to know, because none of us need to fork out $5 million for divulging information on any of these young ladies. But again, I've heard of maybe 6 of them. Throw in the 3 that Brian just mentioned. So maybe I know half the cast, but I guess we'll see how this plays out. What were we gonna say?
I was just thinking about Detroit and Justin Gaethje. I don't know if I want Gaethje and Kevin Lee in the same arena unless they're fighting each other.
Did they have beef?
Well, a little bit to get on the. Kevin wanted that spot to be on the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Poirier was pissed that he didn't get Alvarez. He wanted to run that
Kevin's
one back.
doing a good job at
he is, huh?
putting himself in the media.
Yeah.
He was sharp against who was the guy that said something on him?
Chiesa?
No.
Oh, Tony Ferguson.
Tony Ferguson said something to him, and they went back and forth. Kevin was sharp on his return.
Now, I've looked at in the past at the UFC what they send out to prospective tough tryout participants, and they always stress you have to have 3 wins. Is it 3 wins or 3 fights?
I think it's 3 fights.
Because I see a lot of people with just 2 wins, and I thought they said you have to have 3 wins.
It's changing all the time because it used to be just 1. Because Angela Hill only got on with 1.
But she had a lion fight background. I remember that because I seen her fight a lion fight.
Supposed to be 1.
Well, she's undefeated too, right?
She's like 10-0 in kickboxing.
Yeah, she's good, man. She's legit. So I don't know. I don't know what you know. Again, I see 4-4, 2-2, 8-8. We'll see. You know, I don't know how stacked this thing might be, but Goes nailed it. You might have some 15ers that go up and 35ers that go down, and next thing you know, you have a division. The reason I bring this up is, remember, when they include these young ladies, they're going to have the 2 finalists and maybe 3 or 4 after that. Those are roster spots that are going to come at the cost of other athletes. So you better make sure this is worthwhile when you're cutting other fighters that have been doing this for a long time. 45 was a little bit of a disaster. I think they got themselves a star in Cyborg at this point. It's just hard to ignore that. But, you know, your client is dropping to 35. Holly Holm dropped in her last fight to 35. So there didn't really seem to be a firm commitment there. In fact, can you update us? Is Jermaine past everything, you know, or will this be one of those where the UFC is just not going to be her biggest fan for a while?
You know, and honestly, with the UFC and Jermaine, the UFC was actually very understanding. And so I can't, if they weren't, I'd be the first person to tell you, but they actually were. So I don't know. She's going to fight in Rotterdam, and we'll see what happens from there. But the UFC was actually very supportive of what she was doing. They didn't really give her too much
about her stance because of Cyborg's past.
Not about her stance, but about just what she was doing. Like, okay, you're not going to fight. They didn't really come down on her too hard. Like, you know, surprisingly enough, I didn't see Dana out there blasting her, or, you know, there was none of that. And in my talks with them, they were, you know, they just wanted to make sure that she was doing something that was going to be right for her own mind. So it was actually refreshing.
She's a police officer in the Netherlands?
She just got through the police academy, and she's a police officer, yeah.
Oh, wow. So she's a full-time police officer over there and then trains.
Yep.
Yep. Interesting. All right. Cool. How old is she?
Oh, jeez.
Sorry. Let's look it up.
I can't. Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
There's sometimes I don't even remember how old I am. I don't know how
she's
you would be able to
33.
keep track of all that.
She's 33, so this is just something where she knew fighting wasn't going to be for her, and she wanted to have another career
for after fighting. Yeah, for sure.
Well, much respect. Is it a dangerous job to be a police officer in Holland? I mean, I don't know what that climate is like out there.
I couldn't.
We've been there. I've been there 2 times, and Goes has been there once, and I remember going down an alley where I thought, oh, that could have been trouble. But for the most part, everybody else has been, every other part, I always felt like pretty safe in that country.
Well, but we were kind of like in Amsterdam.
Probably people are like, chill out.
You're safe in the red light district where you hang out. So.
Oh, that's payback. Payback for the Rhino comment. No, you know what? I did go to the red light. So check this out.
I'm sure you did.
With our dad, of all people.
Our dad had gone around the corner, and I was just trying to see where he went, and he had ducked in to get matches for the cigarettes he had just bought. So when he ducked in, I just kept going around the corner, And you were there? I thought it was just me and Mario. Or did I tell you about it?
I wasn't there. You told me about it, though.
Yeah. My buddy and I, we rounded the corner, and we knew where the red light district was, and I thought my dad had wandered off. And I ain't hating, but at the same time, he needed to know that. So this is what the red light district is like in Holland. Have you been, Brian? Seriously?
Yeah, I have, actually.
All right. So I've seen grandmothers, I've seen parents pushing a stroller, and it's almost like a touristy thing to do mostly during the day, where you'll see a lot of the
it's like
a lot of the young of the young ladies. They're kind of like auditioning and waving, and some will dance and you know, give you the finger. I've seen a lady with one leg. I've seen a lady with hair under her armpits. So a zoo. I mean, so you're like, whoa, and then obviously you go by and look at other ones and go, wow. I mean, that's amazing. I'm sure drugs are being hustled or whatever, but there are certain areas where you can tell, oh, that's probably not the right alley to go down, and then there's others where I'm telling you, you could you could walk with your family and have no problems. When we were going, these two guys tried to they mentioned something about watches, and they caught my buddy's attention more than anything. But what I noticed was another guy had gotten off of a little stoop that he was on, and they looked like what they wanted to do was kind of surround us, but they were just being very, very nice and wondering if we had any interest in what they were selling and asking us where we were. And I told my cousin, I go, you need to keep walking, because we had slowed down. I go, you need to keep walking, because I could see what was formulating. I'm from the mean streets of South Coast Metro in California, so I recognize,
we need to run.
And so then as soon as I kind of grabbed them and we did it, they didn't have enough time to do the formation of what they wanted to do. But I could tell that they were just feeling us out to see what's going to happen. You? Maybe Voltron, yeah. But it was daylight, so that you would have had to execute that and be pretty accurate, But we just kept walking. So anyway, I've seen lots of places in Holland that are just really, really cool. But that red light, if you ever go with your family, don't feel like, oh yeah, no, I'm just a shady dude that wants to get laid. Only they can go. No, you can't, man. If you really want to go and just get a kick out of it, it is like a human zoo. I think Brian put it best. Let's do our last break before we get out of here. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close, won't you?
King Kong has a lot of shit on them. Like a lot, especially Goes. Here, Gorgeous George and Goes.
August is Fantasy Football Draft Month on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Listen to the best fantasy football analysts in the business to find out which players you need to draft on your team this season and learn strategies to help you win. Call in and speak to an expert for information you can't hear anywhere else. SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio for people who play fantasy football. Sirius 210, XM87, and on the SiriusXM app. I got asked to play in a league yesterday. I don't know anybody other than Scott Howey. And
you gonna take their money?
It's gonna take a lot to get me out of retirement. But their league is $45 to get in, 45 or 50. And that's not enough, man. I got to play in the leagues that are a little bit more money's at stake. That's one of those where if I'm eating breakfast and somebody says, you forgot to get your lineup in, I'd be like,
it's not worth it.
That's the worst thing I can have. I lose $45. I mean, so yeah, I need to get more. I need LeVar Ball to call me.
Oh, yeah?
And say, yeah, we got a big baller league. You want to get in? I go,
What's the price of the league for you?
I want to get in one where it's like $500. You know, so if there's 10 of us, there's 5,000.
So you're in it, yeah.
So if I win, then I can do something. I can take a vacation with $5,000,
right?
Or 4,500 to the winner. Second place gets his money back. 45 or 50. I'm not gonna sit there and trash talk people over that.
Right.
You know?
It's a job. It becomes a job.
I get into it. Yeah, I get. Are you in a fantasy?
No.
Football league? No.
No, don't have time.
You're just not an NFL guy, I can tell, right?
Not really. No.
You barely managed to remember that Washington's nickname was the Redskins. You're like. I go, who do you like? And you go, the Washington, oh yeah, Redskins. So you just didn't get into it?
I just didn't get into it. I used to be into basketball a lot, but nah, not football.
Let's talk to Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
What's going on? What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Hey, I'm calling to talk a little bit of noise about the Pettis fight basically playing out the way I said it would play out, with him being a whole lot more tactical fighter, and the other guy was wild and out of control, and basically Pettis just picked them apart. I mean, it was basically after that first round was over, Pettis went back and he started listening to his coaches a little bit. The only thing I hate, I wish sometime that he would not throw a lot of those little fancy kicks and stuff, but that's just in his blood, I guess, to do it. He's been doing it since a kid, but other than that, man, that fight wasn't even close, man.
You had to have been nervous a little bit in that first round, though. It's not like you said, just how it played out. I wanted to.
Yeah, first round turned out to be 10-8 for Marino.
Yeah, you know what? I knew that that he probably would get taken down. I was glad. It was refreshing. I was like, okay, if he make it out of this round, he'll be okay. Because he was able to not to get submitted. And you know who I bet just sitting there looking at this, like, man, the Ortiz kid, man, he just got a little bit too reckless.
Dustin Ortiz, man, he's I think you're right. That was a winnable fight for him. But I knew Ortiz was gonna win. I knew Hani Yahya was gonna win. I started off the night great, and then I fucking train wrecked it, man. I should have had a really, really good winning night, but it didn't work out. Showtime, we got to move on, though, man. Thanks for the call, all right, buddy? Call in tomorrow. I really want you to be part of tomorrow's show. We're going to tackle an interesting topic. All right, thanks, bud. Brian Butler, thanks for stopping by and doing the show. At @BrianButler_AU is his Twitter handle. Give him a follow. All right, folks, we will see you all tomorrow. Eve Edwards will be your co-host. Be champions.